I'm Bryce.
And we're Better Half Reviews. And today we are looking at Katana, and it's by Tracy Allen. And Tracy did gift us this copy, however, our opinions are our own. And Bryce, take it away.
So Tracy Allen is a big history buff, and he likes to infuse his games with that historical aspect. And that might sound boring to some, but this isn't any like run-of-the-mill memorize dates and know what happened when.
Yeah, no, thank you.
He does infuse a lot of fun and strategy into his games. So as you can imagine, Katana is about samurai and ancient Japanese culture. And in that culture there are kamis, or Japanese gods or spirits, that help these samurai try to gain control and become shogun.
In the game, you are given a kami who will help you in your battle against your opponent. The kami has different abilities, like Bryce said. There's active and passive ones, and you have hearts and shields, which are basically your health and your defense.
Also, the kamis are going to help determine your defensive structure, and that can help determine your strategy throughout the game.
That is true.
On your turn, you will take one of three actions. So first, you can attack your opponent, and your opponent has the opportunity to defend if you attack. You can pollute your opponent's kami, which will
hinder some of the kami's abilities.
And then finally, you can purify. So if your kami is polluted, it'll get rid of that pollution, or some of the abilities are activated through a purify ritual, through playing a purify card. Once you are done taking an action, you put a card face down, if you choose to, and this becomes your stance.
Your contingency plan, basically.
Yeah, it's say like a defensive stance. It can help you if your opponent attacks next turn. If they don't attack, that card is just discarded.
He does that to me all the time.
One last component is these shrine cards. If you play a purify or pollute, you'll pick up a shrine card.
And the shrine cards can either be good or bad. You don't know what's going to happen until you flip it over. And I'm just going to say that the luck of the draw was basically 90% on my time.
Always with her.
95. And
100.
There's one time I had something negative. But yeah, I got a lot of good things on the shrine over several games that we played. And he had negative ones. And we'll just...
Almost all the time.
But yeah, so that's the gist of the game. And so again, last man standing wins. Alright, so our thoughts on the game. So in the beginning, the rules... maybe it's just because I'm a little bit slower at learning games. I was a little bit confused on a few aspects with like the pollute and purify. But once we played a game, you really get it down. It's really not that hard.
That's true. The rulebook was a little confusing. And I think that's why the author provided a gameplay example.
That was helpful too.
This, along with the rulebook, does explain a lot of aspects of the game. And then once you play a game, you get it really easily. We didn't have to reference the rulebook anymore once we got that game under our belt.
That's true. That's the one thing that I like about all the cards and how things are laid out. It's very simple. It's very clear to understand. This does this, this does that. It was really good. Speaking
of the cards, they are very clean, very easy to read, and it has very beautiful but minimalistic artwork on it.
And then we come to the quality of things. So the version of the game that we got was just the simple version. So it's just your typical normal tuck box. I liked that it did have a little insert divider, which was helpful, but it's jam-packed full of cards, so sometimes a little bit hard to get in and out, but that's not a huge issue.
But with that tuck box, you don't have a place for these little coins, and you don't have a place for this gameplay example guide, so you kind of just have to set them on top of the box.
There is a deluxe version that was available on the Kickstarter, and I'm kind of jealous of that version. And then the card quality, it's not terrible, but it's not fantastic. It's just kind of like a different card than I've ever seen before.
It has a pretty interesting feeling. It's a little thicker.
Yeah, but it has like a linen finish, but it has like a little, I don't know, an edge.
Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting feel.
Well, maybe that's a perfect. It has a bit of an edge, and it's a game with swords. Anyway,
As far as gameplay, there is a lot of strategy packed into this. Depending on the kami cards you have, depending on the cards in your hand, depending on the shrine cards you get.
Well, yeah, and even with that, there's still a little bit of luck too, like with the shrine cards.
Sure, there's luck involved, but there's also strategy. So
Definitely.
if you're getting certain action cards, you can defend really well. If you're getting other action cards, you can attack really well. So you try to plan that out as best as you can.
And one thing I really like about this game is that it doesn't take too long to play, and it doesn't have that big of a footprint. So, you know, we're parents, and it's kind of hard to fit in long games sometimes. And so on a weekday, it's really easy to fit in 2 games of this in a very short time.
Definitely. The box says it plays in 15 to 30 minutes. I can say I lost within about 7 one game. But
that was luck.
It does stay pretty true to that time frame. So overall, I would recommend it. I enjoyed the game.
I enjoyed it once I got the hang of it. It probably helped that I won a few extra times. But yeah, I really liked it, and he's actually coming out with a 2nd edition on Kickstarter, I think next year, 2021.
And he also has another tile laying game called Fragments of Rome coming out next year. And I'm really interested in seeing both of those games.
Yeah.
Especially the 2nd edition, because it adds up to 4 players, and it also adds a solo mode campaign. So I would be really interested in seeing how both of those work out.
Yeah, definitely. But I'm looking forward to it because even though I'm not a huge history buff, I like that it's a unique take on games. Like, I like a lot of fantasy and adventure, but it's nice to kind of have like a simple historically based game with some fun aspects. So I like that that's unique about Tracy Allen's game Katana.
Definitely.
Alright, so that's what we think about the game Katana. I'm Allison.
And I'm Bryce.
And we're Better Half Reviews.
Have fun.
Happy gaming.